23 minutes to 11. Good morning. Liz Ellis with you on BBC Radio Stoke, playing the Cars and Drive. Something a bit country. It's in at the minute. I don't think it's ever out, really, but Dash's Austin coming up, and music from Oasis on the way as well. But you know, today it's 25 years since BBC News started using this iconic theme tune. And since then, it's become recognisable the world over, even inspiring a remix or two along the way. Yeah, it's like Ibiza style, isn't it? Oh, it's not done yet. Hey? It's good, isn't it? It formed part of a drumathon for children in need as well a couple of years ago. That's right, it's been on a journey. And joining me is David Lowe, the man who composed the tune in the first place. Morning, David.
Morning, Liz. How are you doing this morning?
Yes, I'm very good, thank you.
Can you out there today, isn't it?
Yeah. Can you believe it's still going strong? How do you feel about the success of that?
Well, I mean, I'm still excited. You know, obviously, I'm still working on it because we still do variations of it all the time. You know, so it's a bit like having a part in a soap opera in a way. You know, one of those long-standing actors. I'm still literally like, as we speak, I'm working on new versions of it, new variations, because it's not just that theme that you hear in the UK that gets used on BBC News. Obviously, there's bits of BBC News that go around all around the world, you know, so there's India, Africa, America, as well as, of course, the news channel. So there's always lots of variations, and I reckon there must be about 2,000 bits and pieces of music now to do with the BBC News that are going out all the time. So, yeah, it's great. No, I love it.
And does that come from the BBC? Like, is the BBC telling you we want more and come up with more variations?
Yeah, no, they obviously, if they get a new... so let's have a listen. On here, I did one for... Oh, that's the countdown. I've got a few variations here to play you, I think. So I did... Oh, yeah, so that is... I think that is... Which one's that? That's Northern Ireland, yeah. Or Ireland, and then this is BBC Wales. Yeah, so they've all got a slightly different feel, but they've still got the same sound, so you recognise it instantly. That was part of the brief, that you could recognise it no matter how it got used all over the BBC. I've got an Indian one as well, I think. Oh, that was yeah, that's Ireland, yeah. Okay, so, oh, that's India, BBC India. Yep, there you go. So there's, yeah. So it's a constant process.
Yeah, David, it's like a mad scientist in his laboratory. Describe to me, is that what you've got? Have you got like a big home studio setup there?
You don't really need a huge amount of... when I first started doing it, obviously you needed more equipment because it was pre-digital, computers. So when I first did it, I'd come up with the ideas at home. Then we'd always go to a studio, book a studio somewhere in London to compile all the different elements for each programme, because it's not just the theme tune. You've got the headline sequence, you've got the sort of in and outs of the... coming in and out of ad breaks and, you know, those sort of bits. So there are loads of different elements to it that we had to compile, you know. And but now, I mean, everything that we used to do then, I can do literally on a laptop computer. So it's really good. So I've got a nice little home studio, which I've basically had forever. You know, I've always worked from home ever since I started. So, but now it's just pretty much the same, but using computers, so it makes it much more easy to sort of move around. But interestingly enough, when I went when we did the News 24, which was the next version after the BBC News in the year 2000 that came out. We were compiling all the bits in the studio, and it got to the middle of the afternoon, and they had this sort of list of, like a shopping list. They said, "Okay, David, right? One more thing. Can we have a countdown sequence? Because what we need to do is get to the top of the hour. So if we overrun a bit, we can play 10 seconds. If we underrun, we can play 30 seconds." And it just keeps us tidy and gets us neatly to the top of the hour, And so quite often I'm coming up with sort of ideas that fulfill technical details, technical things that they need to overcome.
Yeah, you've got quite a strict remit sometimes. I want to, if you're okay, David, actually, if you're okay to just hold there for a couple of minutes, I'm gonna play a song and come back to you, because I do want to ask you about other theme tunes and how you get into a career like that in the first place. It's David Lowe, the man who came up with the BBC News theme tune. How did you get started in a career? How do you get that commission from the BBC? Well, hopefully we'll find out just after this. It's Dasher and Austin on BBC Radio Stoke.
We had a plan, move out of this town.
It's a beautiful Friday morning. I'm chatting with the man who created the BBC News theme. It's 25 years ago today, and as David was telling us, it's really evolved over those times. But David, can I ask you how you got that job in the first place? How you said you work from home, you're always at home in your home studio, so how did you end up with such a big job for the BBC?
Well, actually what happened was I was when I was a teenager and at school, and probably actually ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to work for the BBC, because in those days, in the sort of 70s, 80s, the BBC was this, it still is a big thing, but for us it was like the BBC, wow. And I was talking to a teacher at school, and he got me. He said, "Well, there's a weekend show they do on BBC Radio WM for young people, and they're always looking for people to go in and help out make the show." So he gave the producer a ring, and I went in to BBC Pebble Mill, which is not there anymore, sadly. But in those days, it was this big broadcasting centre in Birmingham. I don't know if people remember the Pebble Mill lunchtime show, and they used to do loads of things there. And so I went in one Saturday morning, and I absolutely loved it. And I started working on this radio show, and I just got really into sound production and making jingles and doing all that, as well as putting the show together. It was absolutely brilliant. So I was just completely set on, wanting to work in that area in radio and television. And then I got a job as a sound recordist and in TV. And then I started doing, because I was always into music as a fun thing, but I never really thought about it as a career thing. And I went out and bought this synthesizer when they first came out in the early 1980s. And as soon as I got it home and got it out of the box and started playing, I was literally like hooked on it, and I started writing tunes from then, really. So I reckon I've probably written at least one new piece of music every day for the last 40 years, and I'm still going. So I just, from that process, just learned and learned and learned. And then this guy at the BBC we were chatting one day. He said, "Oh, you've got that keyboard, you make music, don't you?" And I said, "I'm looking for a theme tune for Midlands Today." And just a casual conversation. I said, "Yeah," he said, if you'd like to have a go at coming up with an idea, I'll have a listen. So I was like, wow, that would be fantastic. So I came up with an idea, and lo and behold, they liked it, and they ended up using it. And that was in 1983, and it sounded like this, basically. So it's very sort of 80s synth. Yeah. And so I suddenly thought, wow, writing theme tunes, writing TV music is absolutely nails everything that I love doing anyway, combines the whole thing. So it started from there, really. And because in those days, how I was doing it was a very new way of doing it. And because I was sort of floating around at the BBC, other people would go, "Oh, you did that theme tune, can you do me one?" And so gradually, I got more and more work doing that. And eventually, after about eight or so years, we got this massive job for British Airways. A TV commercial went out around the world, and from then on, it's literally like I just was doing music full time after then. So
brilliant. So you've done a lot of theme tunes then. Is there anything more famous than the BBC theme tune then that you'd say? Maybe.
Well, I've done Country File, Grand Designs, The One Show.
One. So you singing on it as well?
Yeah, that's me singing on it. Well, I said that's hang on, it was. So I'm singing in the gaps. So because when we did it, they loved the singers so much. They said, "Can you put some more singers on?" But they'd already gone by then and left the studio. So I thought, well, I'll just try some. So I went. So I'm in the gaps.
Oh, brilliant. What's next then? What's the future for David Lowe, composer extraordinaire?
I don't know. I'm just carrying on, and I'm just doing more things as they pop in, really. So because people are phoning up with bits and pieces all the time. So I'm just working on things as they come in. Yeah. So it's all good.
Keeping you busy. Really lovely to talk to you today. I'm sure we've spoken before, actually, with you in your studio and all your sounds. I'm sure we have, but I find it really fascinating. Thanks so much for your time, David.
No problem. Have a great day.
You too, David Lowe. 25 years to the day since we got that first BBC News theme, and as you heard there's so many adaptations of it. He's done so much with it since. He's just like mixer, DJ, sound recordist, many things rolled into one.